Today we're going to be going over a very detailed guide to how I draft selvage jeans with flat felt seams. And in this video, I also use a reference pair to kind of copy out and, trace out my measurements. So today we have a Acne Studios jeans. It's like a regular wide fit, but we're going to be kind of basing our pattern on this jeans. But anyway, before we dive into it though, we're going to have to kind of go over flat felt seams because how you do your flat felt seams, how you sew it, plays a role into what seam allowances you're going to be using. So flat felt seams, this is the way that I do it. The tops, the flat felt seams with the top stitching on it, it's going to have a 3/8 seam allowance, while the other side that you're joining to will have 3/4 seam allowance. Okay, so what I mean by that is if you look at this photo here, right, you can see that the left leg here, that's where it has the double top stitching. And that's why you use a 3/8 seam allowance, as you can see over there. Okay, so that's kind of what we're doing. And the way that I sew it is that we're going to be sewing these with the right sides facing each other, as you can see in number 2. That's where you're going to be sewing it, and you're going to be sewing it at 3/4. Okay, face to face, so at 3/4. Then you're going to iron and press down the seam. Okay, interlock that fold over, and from here you're going to be edge stitching that, flip it over, and then you're going to do a double top stitch, right? And it should look complete. It should have 2 parallel stitches running through it, and it should be very unbreakable, right? As you can see in number 6, that's the complete flat felt seams look. However, you can use a different seam allowance, but you're gonna have to sew it a different way. So if you don't want to do it this way, you can do it alternatively, right? The side with top stitching in this case will have a 3/4 seam allowance, while the side that you're joining it to will have 3/8. So pretty much it's very similar, but it's the opposite, right? However, if you do it this way, you must sew with the wrong sides of the fabric facing each other. And it's more or less going to look the same, except that in the back of the wrong side of your fabric, it's going to have only 1 stitch running down, okay? And this might actually be more favorable for you because it's going to take a little less work. You're not going to be you're going to be doing 1 less sewing step. But we're not going to be doing that in this video. I might actually do that in my next pair of jeans that I make, but the way that we're doing in this video will be the first way that I showed you. Okay, now we got that out of the way. We're going to be going over how I draft my front leg here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing our reference pair of jeans, and the first thing you want to do is mark a vertical line down the center. Okay, follow that grain line of the pants, and from here you can use chalk or pen, whatever you want. I use chalk. And from here you're going to be drawing out these perpendicular lines, okay, these horizontal lines going right down the knee, the crotch level, and then the hip. And then to get the hip, just kind of go in between the line of your crotch level and where your waistband is. Okay, it should approximately be in the center of that. And then we're going to be drawing another line diagonal right where the center front is by the crotch area. Okay, and from here you're going to be measuring out each section and copying it over to your pattern paper, your dot paper, your marking paper, whatever, right? Copy that over there. And over here, because we're using a selvage pair of jeans, we're going to be having a straight out seam. Okay, that's what we're creating here. Is going to be a straight out seam. However, if you trace out these patterns, you might notice that your out seams, it doesn't all end in the same exact point because, well, this pair at least is not a selvage jeans that I'm tracing out. This reference pair is just like a normal wide fit jeans, but the end points it's not exactly aligned like a straight line. So what that means is in some areas you're gonna have to equalize that part, where it's maybe excessive and maybe it's coming out a little more. You're gonna be having to add that into the other side, right? Because you want the out seam to be straight. And I'm not really explaining it the best, but I will be linking down a video below of Zoe Hong. She kind of goes over drafting pattern of selvage jeans, and she kind of goes over the topic of equalizing. So I would highly recommend watching her video in correspondence with this. Okay, but that's pretty much it for drafting out your pattern. And then from here, what kind of seam allowances are you going to be using? Well, on your left leg, and when I say left and right, I mean the wearer, from the wearer's perspective, not the viewer. So the left leg, as you can see, it has that 3/4 inch seam allowance kind of peeking out there as opposed to the right leg. And that's because we're going to be folding that over twice, and then we're going to be edge stitching that. And I'll kind of show you an example of how that looks like later. But that's why that one sticks out a little more. And again, if you look at the inseams, your right leg has a 3/4 seam allowance here, and then your left leg has 3/8. That's because we're going to be using flat felt seams here again. And then 1/2 inch goes on the waist, right? 1/4 inch on the pocket holes because that's a very tight curve. Any curves, we want to be using a low seam allowance. 1/4 inch at most, 3/8. Okay, and then the out seams standard is 1/2 inch, and then by the hem we're doing 1 inch because we're going to be folding this twice. And that's pretty much it over here. And the grain line, is that yellow arrow you see, it's going to be going up and down over there. Okay, on to the next is the front pocket backing and coin pocket. So the pocket backing is kind of this, it's right behind where this pocket hole is. You can see that it's like the denim that kind of blends into it. And if you flip it inside out, as you see on the left picture, it's where right beneath the coin pocket is. So to draft that out, what you're going to do is you're going to go out 1/2 inch wider from your pocket hole, and then you're going to go 1/2 inch deeper than your pocket hole. So at least 1/2 inch wider and at least 1/2 inch deeper. And this is because you don't want that to be showing when you're walking around, right? You don't want the pocket lining to be showing. So you want to make sure that it's at least 1/2 inch wider and deeper to secure the, I don't know, visibility of it, I guess. So that's kind of what we're going for. And on the edges you see here on the top right, that's our pocket backing. We have a 1/4 inch seam allowance out here all around because we're going to be doing a very clean finish, and we're going to be folding that under, and we're going to be edge stitching that all around. As you can see in that left photo, right, it's a very clean finish. There's no overlocking that you see. So that's kind of what we're trying to mimic here. And then 1/2 inch on top for the waist, 1/2 inch on the side for the outseam. Okay, and the coin pocket, that's my bottom right. I just use a very normal, very easy pattern. I just made a square. You can make it whatever shape you like, but I did a square. And this is 3/4 on top because you're folding that twice, double top stitch, and 3/8 all around because you're folding that once, and double top stitch all around that as well. And that's pretty much it for the coin pocket. Pocket lining. Okay, this one might be a little bit tricky, but the way that we're going to be doing this is you're going to be starting off with, get your paper, right? Get your marking paper, and then you're going to start it by folding it. Okay, fold it in half, and the folded edge should be where you see the top right photo where I have my paper. The folded edge should be right there, right down the center, okay, of the pattern. And right here, what you're going to be doing is draw or copy out the pattern of your waist on the top right. Trace out your pattern of the waist, follow that curve, and then from there you're going to be copying out that pocket hole shape. But you're going to be only doing that on the top side of the paper, only on one side of the paper. And then cut it out as you see on the paper photo here, right? Cut that top shape out of the pocket hole, but have it remaining on the other side, okay? And then from here, you're going to be drafting the pocket lining at least 1/2 inch wider than the pocket backing, okay? And you can make it as deep as you want. I personally like it pretty deep because I like to put a bunch of shit inside my pockets, so whatever you want, you know. But the key thing here is you want to have it at least 1/2 inch wider than the pocket backing, okay? Remember the backing here? And you made the backing 1/2 inch wider than the pocket hole. So in this case, if we're doing 1/2 inch, then this one would be 1 inch away from the pocket hole, right? So that's kind of what you want to do it as. And this is how your complete pattern will look like in the bottom right. You see one side is going to have the pocket hole and the other side isn't. And you're going to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around the bottom because you're not going to be sewing at a 1/2 inch. But it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be sewing this 2 times with 2/4 inches. So as far as sewing goes, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to get the wrong sides of the pocket lining facing each other, flip that back inside out, and then you're going to sew that at a 1/4 inch. So if you look at the left picture, this is our reference pair. As you can see, they have a very clean finish. Okay, there's no raw edges of the pocket lining, and it looks like maybe they just sewed it at a 1/4 inch, but as you can see, it's that the raw edges are covered, and that's because they sewed, you know, a 1/4 inch with the wrong sides of the pocket lining facing each other first, and then they flipped it inside out, and then they put another 1/4 inch on top of it. So that's kind of what we're trying to mimic here, and that's pretty much it as far as your pocket lining goes. And then your outseam again remains the same, 1/2 inch, waist 1/2 inch, and pocket hole will still be at a 1/4 inch. Now fly placket and guard. Okay, this is very easy. So you want the fly placket and guard to be the same exact height and width. And to get the height measurements, to get the width measurements, just copy your reference pair. Okay, just look at the reference pair, measure it out, right? The height and width that you want, copy it over, and you're gonna be making these kinds of shapes, right? Mine is kind of like, it has like, the guard has like this. The guard is also on the left picture, by the way, the top left picture. It kind of has this diagonal shape. I've seen it where it's just rectangular as well. Make it whatever shape you want, you know, but I'm just copying this over. We're gonna do a diagonal shape like that, boom. Okay, and then the placket, right, it's gonna be this like J curve shape, right? And yeah, and they're gonna be the same exact height and width. Okay, and as you see in the top right photo, this is different, but as you see in the top right photo where the buttonholes are, right, in the reference pair where my fingers kind of opening up the buttonhole, that pair, as you can see, is folded. There's a folded edge right there. That right there is the front left leg, right? You see how that 3/4 inch seam allowance is peeking out? Remember we said we're gonna be folding that twice. So that's what this is. It's folded up twice and then it's edge stitched. So that's why it's over there. But anyway, going back to the guard and placket, the guard's gonna have a 1/4 inch seam allowance at the bottom here, and the way that you sew this is gonna be having right sides facing each other, right? Sew it at a 1/4, flip it over, and then you're gonna overlock the opening. And then for the fly placket, you're gonna have 3/8 all around. Okay, 1/2 inch on top for the waist, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty simple. If you want to mark the buttonholes, this is how I marked it to get 4 buttonholes. So what I did was I divided the total length of the placket, and when I say placket, it's the one with where the buttonholes are going. But you get the total length of that, the height. Okay, and then you're gonna be dividing that by 5. Okay, and then you're gonna be distributing. After you get that number, right, you're gonna be distributing 4 buttonholes evenly according to that number. So for example, right, let's say we have a 10-inch placket. Divide that by 5, so we have 2 inches, right? So that means you have 4 buttonholes. You're gonna space them 2 inches evenly all around. Okay, does that make sense? But that's how you mark your buttonholes. And then you also want it a quarter inch away from that edge you see over there. You see the buttonhole? It's very close to the edge, but it's not right on the edge. It's a 1/4 inch away. So that's kind of where you want to place it. And don't make it too, you know, deep inside that you have to reach for your buttonholes. Just make it a 1/4 inch by the edge. And then sewing this, you know, overlock the curved edges, you know, right? Fold that guard in half and just overlock that curved. And that's pretty much it for this. Back leg and yoke. Back leg, same exact instructions as the front. You're gonna be marking out with a chalk. Use these as a reference pair, okay? And copy that pattern over to your paper. And then from here, the difference is we have a yoke though, right? So how do we go about creating a yoke? So measure out, again, what your reference pair is. Mine was 3 inches down the center back, and then it was 1 inch down the side seam. So that's the same exact measurement I used. If you want to go deeper, you can, right? It just depends what your preference is, but that's how I did it. I went 3 inches deeper down the center back, and then I went 1 inch deeper on the side seam. So it created like a little, not very severe of a, you know, yoke, but I don't know. It was decent size, right? And then right over there, after you draw out that diagonal line, you want to slash through, okay? And that's why we have this opening here. This is the yoke on top. So slash it through, okay? And then you're going to be left with 2 different pieces now, okay? You have the back leg without the yoke, and then you have just the yoke, okay? And after that, you're going to be blend any line that you need to, and also square it out, okay? So every pattern should be squared out, right? Squaring out means by the edges here, you see how the pattern is all squared. It's all a square shape. So you want to have a square shape because that's what makes the sewing smooth, okay? And again, as you can see on the bottom of the yoke, it has a on the right pant. It has a 3/4 seam allowance, and then the top of the right pants has a 3/8 seam allowance, and that's again for the accounting for the flat felt seams. As you can see in the reference photo, the top stitching goes on that back leg, right? You see, it's on the back leg. Maybe it's hard to tell from this photo, but it's on the back leg, which is why the back leg has a 3/8 seam allowance. The yoke is being attached too, so that's why it has a 3/4 seam allowance. Okay, and yeah, and the same exact reasoning for everything else that you see, where it's 3/8, 3/4. Okay, right by the inseams, same thing. It's because of the flat felt seams. Now the back pocket, it's very easy. Just copy out the pattern. Mine was simple. Use the same exact measurements. The seam allowances, I'm using 3/4. Folding that twice over, double top stitch. Okay, 3/8 all around, folding that once, and double top stitch all around there. You can make this whatever shape you like. I just went pretty basic here. Now the waistband. Now this might be a little tricky, but what you're gonna do is get your complete finished sewing pair of your left legs, right? Or your right, but in this case I'm using my left. So I have my left front leg here, right? And then I have my back left leg here. And this is how it's gonna look when it's sewn together, right? And then from here, what we're gonna do is, you see that red line? That's where your that's what you're copying pretty much. It's gonna be that bottom of the waistband, or sorry, I shouldn't say that. It should just be, just copy that red line, that curve that you see after you finish. Copy that waist, and what that is gonna be is it should be the top of your waistband, right? Sorry, I'm confusing you, but this red line here should go on the top of this waistband, as you see on the right pattern. Okay, and then you're gonna make it go down however much you like. In this case, I went down 3 inches because after you finish it, you're gonna be folding it, right? So I think my Acne Studios pair, the depth or the width of the waistband was 1.5 inch, so that means I need to go down 3 inches. Okay, maybe you want to make it a little thicker. Maybe you want to make it 2 inches. Then go down 4 inches. Okay, but in this case, I went down 3 inches, and from here, yeah, you get the waistband, right? You get the waistband for one side of your pant. So if you look at my right side of the pattern here, you can see that there's a line in the middle, and that's because what we're doing is we're going to be mirroring that pattern that we just made. So get another piece of paper, copy it out, and attach it together, right? And there you have a full complete waistband of your right and left leg together. Okay, and yeah, the way that you sew this is you're going to be putting it face to face, right? Line it up face to face and sew it at 1/2 inch all around, which is why you have a 1/2 inch over here. And you know what? I'm actually going to be making a video about sewing all of these in my next video. So if you're confused about the sewing steps here, don't worry. I'm going to be literally showing you every single step, every single step, you know, of how I sew it in my next video. But yeah, and that's pretty much it. You know, that pretty much sums up how to pattern draft your you know, first salvage pair of jeans. And you know, I'm going to be leaving this link for this presentation slide below in the video description, so you can take a look at it, study it, read all the notes, okay, and try out, make your own patterns, you know, copy out a reference pair. But this is pretty much the way that I did it, and obviously these patterns are not perfect, so please do not copy them. I mean, you can go ahead and try, but this is my first sample, so it didn't come out very well. There's some fitting adjustments that I need to make, and this isn't necessarily the best way to go about it either, to copying out patterns, but this is just the way that I did it. And if you want to give it a try, I'd say give it a try. But I'm going to be going over the sewing steps for this pattern. I actually made these pants, you know, so I'm going to show you guys how I do that in my next video. So stay in tune for that. And if you have any questions, comments, please leave it down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. But that is pretty much it. That is the very detailed guide of pattern drafting selvage jeans with flat filled seams. I haven't really seen this online, so I thought I should go make something. But this is the way that I do it, so go ahead and give it a try. And I'll see you guys in my next video.